You walk into a coffee shop you've never been to before. The barista smiles and asks for your order. And then, it hits you, that overwhelming feeling that you've been here before. Not just in a similar place, this exact moment. The way the light hits the counter. The song playing in the background. The barista's smile. Everything. You know, with absolute certainty that you've lived this moment already, but that's impossible. You've never been here before. You can check your credit card history. You can verify your schedule. The rational part of your brain knows this is your first time. And yet, the feeling persists. Undeniable, unsettling. Welcome to Déjà Vu. A phenomenon so common that roughly 60 to 70% of people experience it at least once in their lives. The French call it already seen. But what is it, really? A glitch in our memory? A peek into parallel universes? A hiccup in the fabric of time itself? Today, we're diving deep into one of the human brain's strangest tricks. We'll explore the scientific explanations, the bizarre theories, and the lingering mysteries that science still can't fully explain. Because here's the thing, we've learned a lot about déjà vu, but we still don't completely understand it. And the answers we do have? They're way weirder than you might expect. Let's get into it. First, let's establish what we're actually talking about. Because déjà vu is one of those terms people throw around loosely, but the actual experience is very specific. True déjà vu is an intense, overwhelming sensation that you've experienced the exact present moment before, not just something similar, not a vague sense of familiarity, but the absolute conviction that you've lived through this precise moment in the past. Same place, same people, same conversation, same everything. And here's what makes it so weird. It typically lasts only 10 to 30 seconds. It arrives suddenly, fills you with this strange, almost eerie feeling, and then disappears. Like waking up from a dream and immediately forgetting the details. The term déjà vu was coined by a French psychic researcher named Émile Boirec in 1876. He described it as a sensation of having witnessed or experienced a new situation when you know rationally that you haven't. But humans have been experiencing and documenting this phenomenon for thousands of years. Ancient philosophers wrote about it. Charles Dickens described it in his novel David Copperfield, back in 1850. So this isn't some modern psychological quirk. This is a fundamental part of human consciousness that we've been grappling with forever. And yet, despite all our advanced neuroscience and brain imaging technology, we still don't have a complete explanation. Why is that? Well, because déjà vu is incredibly hard to study. You can't predict when it's going to happen. You can't trigger it on command. Or at least we couldn't until very recently. And by the time someone realizes they're experiencing déjà vu, it's usually already fading. But scientists have managed to piece together some fascinating theories. And trust me, they're wild. The most widely accepted scientific explanation? Déjà vu is essentially a glitch in your brain's memory system. Your brain is constantly processing information. Everything you see, hear, feel, smell, taste, it all gets sorted and filed away. Most of this happens automatically in the background without you even realizing it. Now here's the thing, your brain has different types of memory. There's short-term memory, long-term memory, and something called familiarity memory versus recollection memory. Recollection is when you remember specific details, like I went to that coffee shop last Tuesday at 3 p.m. with Sarah. Familiarity memory is just that vague sense that you've encountered something before, without the details. The leading theory about déjà vu? It happens when your familiarity system accidentally triggers for a present experience. Your brain files the current moment as a memory asterisk. Before asterisk, you've consciously processed it. So you get this weird sensation that the present feels like the past. Imagine it like this. You're watching a live TV broadcast with a slight delay. Except the delayed version reaches your brain first, gets filed as a memory, and then the live version arrives. Your brain goes, wait, I've seen this before. Even though you're literally experiencing it for the first time. It's a crossed wire. A processing error. A glitch in the matrix, if you will. Neuroscientists have even identified the brain regions likely involved. The hippocampus, which is crucial for forming and retrieving memories, seems to play a major role. The temporal lobe, which processes sensory input and memory. For decades, studying déjà vu was basically impossible. You couldn't just make it happen in a lab. You had to wait for someone to experience it and hope they could describe it afterward. But in 2016, researchers at Colorado State University cracked the code. They figured out how to artificially trigger déjà vu using virtual reality. Here's how they did it. They had people navigate through a virtual space, like a museum with a specific layout. Then later, they had them navigate a totally different space, like a garden, but with the exact same layout as the museum. The participants didn't consciously realize the layouts were identical, but their brains did. And when they entered the garden, many of them reported that classic déjà vu feeling. Why? Their brain recognized the spatial pattern, creating a sense of familiarity. But their conscious mind knew they'd never been in this garden before. That conflict, the feeling of I know this, and this is new at the same time, is the essence of déjà vu. This experiment proved that déjà vu doesn't mean you've actually experienced something twice. It just means your brain recognized a similar underlying pattern. Maybe that new coffee shop you walked into has a similar layout or lighting to a place you visited years ago. Your brain subconsciously picks up on the pattern and boom, déjà vu. But here's what's really strange about it. If it's just a memory glitch, why does it feel so profound? When you misremember something, you just correct yourself. It's no big deal. But déjà vu feels different. It has an emotional weight, almost like it's supernatural. Some researchers think this is because it triggers what's called a metacognitive response. That's your brain thinking about its own thinking. During déjà vu, your brain gets two conflicting signals at once. This is familiar, and this is new. Your brain recognizes this contradiction, and that recognition is what creates the eerie feeling. It's like when you say a word over and over until it sounds weird and meaningless. Bowl, bowl. Your brain is processing the conflict between, I know this word and this sounds wrong. Déjà vu is like that, but on a much grander scale because it involves your entire sense of reality. And here's where it gets even trippier. Some neuroscientists and philosophers argue that déjà vu might reveal something fundamental about how our consciousness works. You see, your experience of reality isn't happening in real time. There's a tiny delay. Your brain takes in sensory information, processes it, builds a story, and then presents it to your conscious mind. It all happens in milliseconds. But what if déjà vu is a moment where that timing gets out of sync? What if it's a brief glimpse behind the curtain, where you experience the gap between perception and awareness? If that's the case, déjà vu isn't a glitch at all. It's a window into consciousness itself. Okay, now let's dive into the wild theories. The ones science doesn't really support but are just too fun to ignore. First up, parallel universes. This theory suggests déjà vu happens when your consciousness briefly overlaps with a parallel version of yourself in another timeline where you did experience this exact moment before. Is there evidence? Not really. But the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics does suggest multiple universes could exist. Theory number 2, past lives. Many spiritual traditions see déjà vu as a memory from a previous incarnation. Your soul remembers a place or a moment from a past life. Again, there's no scientific evidence, but it's a belief held by millions. Theory 3 is precognition remembering the future. The idea is that you previously had a dream or a premonition about a moment. And now that you're living it, your brain recognizes the match. Interestingly, some people swear they've dreamed of events before experiencing them with déjà vu. Of course, human memory is famously unreliable, so it's just possible we're just creating a false memory of a dream to explain the weird feeling. And finally, theory number 4. We're all living in a simulation. The Matrix theory. If our reality is a massive computer program, déjà vu could just be a rendering error or a glitch in the code. A moment when the simulation stutters. So who actually experiences the déjà vu? It turns out not everyone gets it equally. Young people, especially those in their teens and 20s, report it way more often. After about age 25, the frequency starts to drop. Why is that? Researchers think it might be because younger brains are more neuroplastic, they're more active, more flexible, and maybe a little more prone to these kinds of processing quirks. As the brain matures and settles into its patterns, déjà vu just becomes less common. Stress and fatigue also play a big role. When you're tired or totally overwhelmed, your brain's error-checking systems aren't working at full capacity. This makes it easier for these little processing glitches to slip through. Frequent travelers also seem to get more déjà vu, possibly because they're constantly seeing new places that remind their brains of previous ones. More pattern matching opportunities mean more chances for a false alarm. And here is a weird one. People who remember their dreams more often also report more frequent déjà vu. The connection isn't totally clear, but it might suggest that both things involve similar memory systems. There's even a genetic component. Déjà vu seems to run in families, hinting that some people might just be born more susceptible to it. But what's really fascinating is that some people never experience déjà vu at all, ever. They hear us talk about it and have no idea what we mean. Why do some people get it and others don't? We honestly don't know for sure. It could be individual differences in brain wiring, or maybe some people experience it but don't recognize it as anything out of the ordinary. The brain is just weird like that. Everyone's experience of consciousness is slightly different, even when we assume we're all seeing reality the same way. Déjà vu isn't the only strange time-related sensation our brains can cook up. There's a whole family of these weird experiences. Have you ever heard of jamais vu? It's the complete opposite of déjà vu. It's when something you know is super familiar suddenly feels completely foreign. Imagine walking into your own home and feeling like you've never been there before. Or looking at a simple word you know and suddenly being unable to recognize it. It's pretty creepy, right? Jamais vu happens when your brain's recognition systems just temporarily shut down. The information is there, but you can't access it. It's like having a word on the tip of your tongue, but way more unsettling. Then there's déjà vu, which means already dreamed. This is when you in a situation and you absolutely convinced you dreamed about this exact moment before. Unlike regular déjà vu, where you feel like you've lived it, déjà vu is specifically tied to dreams. And how about déjà visit, or already visited? This is when you in a brand new place, but you have this unshakable certainty that you've been there before, even though you know you haven't. It's like déjà vu, but just for locations. Finally, there's presque vu, which means almost seen. You definitely know this one. It's that incredibly frustrating tip of the tongue feeling. You almost have the answer. It's right there, just out of reach. That's presque vu. All of these strange phenomena seem to stem from the same basic issue: different parts of your memory and recognition systems getting out of sync. And every now and then, the timing just gets a little wonky. The result is these strange, unsettling moments when reality feels just a little bit off. So, what does all of this tell us? What have we actually learned about déjà vu? Well, first, it's almost certainly a neurological phenomenon rather than anything supernatural. The brain imaging studies, the epilepsy connection, the VR experiments, they all point to déjà vu being a quirk of how our brains process and store memories. But second, and this is important, just because something has a scientific explanation doesn't make it less profound. Déjà vu reveals something fundamental about consciousness. It shows us that our experience of reality is constructed. It's not direct. There's a delay, a processing step between sensing the world and experiencing it. It also shows us how fragile our sense of time really is. We think of time as this linear, objective thing. Past, present, future, neatly ordered. But our subjective experience of time is created by our brains. And when the brain hiccups, our sense of time hiccups too. Déjà vu is a reminder that reality, as we experience it, is a story our brains tell us. Most of the time, it's a very convincing story. But occasionally, the narrative glitches. And in those moments, we catch a glimpse of the machinery underneath. That's both reassuring and unsettling. Reassuring because it means déjà vu isn't a sign that something's wrong with reality. Unsettling because it means reality, as we know it, is more subjective than we'd like to believe. Alright, let's bring this all together. Déjà vu is one of the strangest experiences the human brain can produce. That uncanny feeling that you've lived this exact moment before. That sense that time is somehow folding back on itself. Science has made real progress understanding it. We know it involves your temporal lobe, your hippocampus, and your memory processing systems. We know it's more common in young people during times of stress and in people with certain neurological conditions. We can even trigger it artificially in lab settings now. The most likely explanation? Déjà vu happens when your brain's familiarity systems fire incorrectly, creating a false sense that a new experience is actually a memory. It's a crossed wire, a timing error, a glitch. But here's what I love about déjà vu. Even with all these explanations, it still feels mysterious. Science can tell us the how, but the subjective experience, That eerie feeling that reality just glitched. That remains powerful and strange. Maybe that's because déjà vu touches on something deeper than neuroscience alone can explain. It challenges our assumptions about time, memory, and consciousness. It forces us to confront the fact that our experience of reality is constructed, fragile, and occasionally prone to errors. And honestly, I think that's beautiful. We're these complex biological machines navigating a physical universe, creating meaning and experience from electrical signals in our brains. And sometimes, just sometimes, the wires cross in a way that makes us question everything. So the next time you experience déjà vu, don't just brush it off. Pay attention to it, notice how it feels. Think about what it reveals about your own consciousness. Because in that brief, strange moment, you're catching a glimpse of how your brain constructs reality. Are we reliving glitches in the fabric of time? Probably not. But we are experiencing glitches in the fabric of consciousness. And that's arguably even more fascinating. So here's my question for you. Have you experienced déjà vu? And if so, what do you think causes it? Are you team neuroscience? Team parallel universes? Team simulation glitch? Let me know in the comments. I genuinely want to hear your stories. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the brain's strangest tricks, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exploring the mysteries of consciousness, reality, and the weird things our brains do when we're not looking. Thanks for watching. And remember, if this video gave you déjà vu, maybe you're just experiencing it for the second time. Or maybe your brain's just messing with you. I'll see you in the next one.